Ever been in a situation that was so pressure packed, so intense, it got your heart racing, got your mind racing, that looking back on it, evaluating that experience, you're going, man, I was so caught up in the moment. I was so struggling with everything that I could see. I couldn't see beyond what I could see. The disciples were in the same situation. And these miracles were about Jesus challenging them to see beyond what they can see, to see beyond the impossible into what Jesus can do with the impossible. These two stories, I mean, obviously, the one about walking on water, that was all about the disciples. They were the only ones in the boat. But I believe that the feeding of the 5,000, probably 10, 15,000, that story was about the disciples more than it was about the crowd. That Jesus wanted them to see beyond what they could see right then and right there. What they could see is this: they were trying to get away from some R&R. They were trying to get away from the crowds. They just kept following them around. They tried to go across a sea in order to smokescreen the crowds, but when they landed, the crowds were there. And this story started with them hungry. They were hungry when the story started. And then they ministered to the crowds all day long. I think Peter needed a Snickers. I think Peter was a little bit hangry by the end of the day, right? And all they could see is that they were out in the middle of the wilderness. It would take 2,000 denarii, 2,000 days' wages in order to feed this crowd. And this crowd was going to revolt. They were going to do something. Something was going to happen. Something was going down, and it wasn't going to be pretty. And then they got in this boat, and all they could see was this windstorm that cropped up. And 4 out of 12 of them, a third of them, were professional fishermen. And they didn't know how to deal with this windstorm. And then some dude, some guy, whoever this guy is, it's a ghost, right, that starts walking on water. And one of the most amazing sentences of all of the Gospels was this: and Jesus was going to pass right on by. He was going to truck right on by, walking on the water. Just going to see you, fellas. And the disciples were like, whoa, hold on. What is going on here? Some dude's walking on right by. But stop! Jesus was challenging them to see beyond what they could see. Them, the disciples of all people, needed to be able to see beyond what they could see. What if Jesus is challenging us with this right here and right now? Why was Jesus challenging them? It said that they had hard hearts. This should encourage us. The disciples, they had hard hearts. They didn't even know it. They had no idea that they had hard hearts. But they did. And Jesus is challenging them to go beyond what they could see. It's challenging their heart. I need this. We all need this. To be able to stop, take a breath, and see beyond what we can see. Not because we have the answers within ourselves or anything like that our culture will tell us, but because we have Jesus. And Jesus is trying to do something. And Jesus can do something, do the possible with the impossible. He proved it every single time. It is time that we take a step back, take a deep breath, and see what Jesus can do with what we can see and with what we just cannot possibly see.